everyone. Hope you had a great breakfast and still not feeling that hungry to rush for lunch. So I won't be taking too long time of yours, and will briefly introduce myself as well in subsequent slides in little different words than what has been mentioned. But starting with the presentation, that the orientation slide, which talks about the reinventing human capital management. But why reinventing? Wasn't it always already invented in the past? Now the reinvention is coming because it is again valued little more. Why it happens, we'll be talking in a couple of minutes. But the important thing is, since it also talks about the strategy is something which comes from the data. So if you have vast amount of data available, not necessarily the vast, because HRMS systems do not always contain a lot of data, but the human data is always have a lot of information, and you can drill through it, analyze it in such a way so that you can start predicting the nature, and also start doing such type of analysis which essentially helps you grow the business. So this is the kind of value it may bring. So let me move ahead. My intention with this slide is I actually wanted to show you that how Alexa works with these type of questions. Unfortunately, in this specific room, we are not able to get the correct internet. But the very first question is, how is the weather in Gurgaon today? Obviously, with this, the answer of this question will help you know that what things to plan today, right? Whether you should be carrying the umbrella with you, whether you should be going by a bike, or you should be traveling by car. So these are some generic questions which essentially can help you getting the insights or information which can help you plan your day. These are simple generic questions, but essentially over the period of time you will be having those questions, like you can attach it with your calendar. You can ask Alexa to start your own meetings automatically without having to worry about dialing in the numbers, etc. So all those things are possible. It's getting day by day possible very easily. Now, the context of Alexa is just to tell you that we are just talking about the advancements in technology. So those advancements in technology should be adopted by each and every one of us just to be in pace with the race of technology. So here's me, Saurabh Mishra. Currently I'm heading Luminar Engineering. Luminar is a SaaS-based data analytics platform. It's basically a startup. The intention of Luminar is to build data analytics with such a ease that anyone can do the analytics. We also try to democratize the analytics in such a way so that you don't have to apply your mind to understand the analytics which is coming out your way. Prior to working with Luminar, I also worked with TCS, Morgan Stanley, and Barclays, and heading this Luminar for close to 6 years now. My specialization goes with a couple of data analytics problems. I started my career as a database developer and then eventually grew, and as of now specializing in artificial intelligence and machine learning type of capabilities. And we are adding those capabilities in our platform, which is known as Luminar. Now, this is the second phase of Alexa where it can start answering questions related to your business. The very first question it talks about is, what is the attrition rate of this month? What if Alexa could understand your data and then bring out this result? And Luminar does that, and Alexa with Luminar is able to answer these questions which are mentioned here. Similarly, it has that type of predictive intelligence as well, that it can tell you that which are those set of employees who are likely to resign in next 6 months to 1 year. So that type of capabilities now can be integrated with Alexa with ease, absolute ease, without having to worry about it at all. So that was the intention. I wish I could have shown it to you here with my Alexa, but unfortunately, due to less internet or low internet quality, I couldn't. We'll move on, and we'll ask a couple of interesting questions with you. So do you know that how many employees are likely to leave in 1 month or 6 months or 1 year? Probably this is one question every HR leader would like to know. And not just HR leader, but team manager, the CEOs, because retaining the top talent is one of the key priority for any HR. Not just HR, but entire organization itself. But in order to get the answers of these type of questions, right? I just mentioned one single question, but you can go through. But in order to get the answers of these set of questions, you should have data. Once you have the data, it can be analyzed, and these questions can be at your fingertips. You can ask these questions and eventually, instantly you can get the answers as well. So this is the level of analytics we bring, or in nowadays it is quite easy for everyone to get such analytics with ease. These questions essentially will create a lot of value of an HR leader in front of business, right? Not just the CEO, but any department or business units. When those leaders will ask these questions, and if HR leaders have answers to these questions, obviously, it brings a lot of value for them for sure. Now, again, we'll start talking about reinventing HCM and why now. So I'll take a quick, good example, right? So we all went through this pandemic, right, COVID-19, and it was a tough time for all of us, and hard time teaches us a lot of things, right? Not just because of the tragic moment, but we essentially give a lot of our time in rethinking things which we were not able to do. So a lot of work from home activities were there. We had ample amount of time to think and as well as learn. Now, what happened post-COVID? Obviously, you would have heard about it, and you are seeing it nowadays as well. Post-COVID, there is a talent of war which has started happening, which used to happen back during the Silicon Valley state, right? Back in 2000, era of 2000. Now, this talent of war is causing a lot of disruption. We have new businesses, but we do not have resources to fulfill the demand of new business. We have skilled resources available, but they are less in number, and they keep hopping the jobs in such a way that we are not able to take care of them, and we are not able to retain them. So hiring, retaining, and mobilizing the people with HCM strategy, the right set of HCM strategy, is possible through data. And that's the reason we just talk about it, that reinventing HCM is essential as of today for the upcoming business to provide the value back to the business. So 78% of Indian business note that post-COVID, their biggest challenge is attaining and retaining the employee. That's one of the major reasons. And the biggest asset for any organization, right? Not just manufacturing, if I talk about, or not just IT, but the biggest asset is people. So unless, and unfortunately, the value which the custodian of people used to get before was not that much. But since there is a war of talent which is going on as of now, HR leaders have started getting a lot of values. With these values, there are challenges also which are coming in front of them, because they keep on attracting different talent, keep on building the organization culture in such a way that they can get maximum talent to their doorstep. They have maximum conversion rates also available. So that's the reason we again wanted to re-emphasize on reinventing the HCM. We'll move on, and we'll start talking about the key steps of enablement of HCM strategy. Since I'm talking about a strategy here, strategy is something again associated with data, because strategy is nothing but talking about the foresight or the long-term goal, rather than doing the tactical work which is operational or transactional in nature. So the very first step is activating HRs Digital DNA. Now, this quite, old way of talking, right? We all every day use smartphones, laptops. Then what's digital we are talking about? Or what digital I'm talking about in this specific slide? So digital just doesn't mean that we are using laptops, smartphones, or an operational systems like a spreadsheet, etc. But digital is essentially the automation to bring efficiency and devote more time in thinking about the people rather than doing the work on system, right? So let's take a very simple example. A lot of us, right, as an HR leader and as a technical leader as well, we do a lot of recruitment activity. But all this recruitment activity is normally done through email. We do not know how many resumes we had already scanned through. We do not know how many offers were already declined by people or not joining. We do not know that what is our conversion rate. So, and also a couple of times different type of systems which every time HR needs an involvement. HR has to work on it, those monotonous jobs, all those things should go away we should always talk about a system, an HCM system, which is completely automated. Through digital sensors, you should be gathering the data, which gives you a very good advantage. It will be efficient, it will be unbiased. So HCM system is essential for system. So if let's suppose in your company, you are still not following any specific HCM system, the very first thing you should do is start adopting an HCM system, move away from spreadsheets. So spreadsheets are not going to take you anywhere. Probably it's just once or twice, but yes, you should always have a proper HCM system. There are plenty of solutions available from small scale industries to the enterprise industries as well, but go and start adopting the HCM system, which is nothing but the real activation of digital DNAs of an HR. Now comes the second and third point. Second and third point always talks about the insights generation. So since if you, let's suppose you have an HCM system and you have a lot of data which is being generated through HCM system, and obviously there are silos of those systems as well. For recruitment, you are managing another system. For learning and development, there's another system. For attendance management, a different system. All we need is bring those silos of data and consolidate it, blend it in such a way so that you can do the real analytics. So this is what we call as building a data universe. It's very similar to data warehouse or data lake, but this is a little advanced concept which gives you the power of large volume of data, but at the same time it gives you the level of performance which you would be requiring to do the analytics. So we build analytics or data universe through which we can bring in the data. This will obviously, and once you have data available, you can transform the data according to your need, according to your interest, and then do a lot of analytical activity. Once you have the data, obviously you can generate reliable insights through it. The very good saying is, everything and anything is measurable. The only thing is, which requires is the mindset. As soon as you have the mindset of measuring things, you will start improvising. Since childhood, we are seeing, right, we have a grading systems. As soon as we know about our grades, we try to improvise on them. Similar thing happens with business as well. Any KPI or any measurables, if you start gathering, start seeing it over the period of time, you tend to improve it automatically. So this is something which is called insights, right? So any number we see, automatically your mind start interpreting that number with associated dimensions or attributes and start acting for the betterment of that number. So you talk about weight, right? Obviously you try to keep on reducing it. Similarly, you talk about salary, automatically you try to keep on enhancing it, right? So these ways, every number, either you wanted to decline it or keep reducing it, or you wanted to keep enhancing it. So that's nothing but insight. As soon as you have the insight, human mind starts working and start interpreting that how, using these insights, I can take an action. So this is the drive, this is the action, the fourth step through which you take the action, and then essentially your action will start going back to the operational system and start reflecting there. So long back, adjacent to my company, there is Lupin. I'll just take a very simple example. The head of Lupin or administration of Lupin, he was just talking to me one day, and he started saying that I had implemented one good solution, a very simple one. I started noting down the bus arrival time on a daily basis. And then I am not doing it, but I asked my guard to make the bus arrival time. And just noting it down, that whether which specific bus is arriving on right time itself has started giving me insights why it is late. What was the reason? I simply asked it why you were late, why you were late, and the next day all those reasons started diminishing. And now as of today, we are able to start our shift on time without any delays. So just a simple step of noting down the data points and then just asking the right question can lead you to the right set of action, which essentially start reflecting in your operational system. And this cycle will keep on improvising again and again, and eventually you'll have the complete solution, a data-driven solution, which helps you strategizing things as well, and which helps you improving the business as well. So these are the 4 steps of enablement for reinventing the HCM strategy. We'll move on quickly and we'll talk about few interesting KPIs as well. Okay, so this is just for a simple use case, right? So when we talk about the talent acquisition, the reason I started putting in is most of the time I see and meet people, they say that, okay, I have nothing to measure. I'm all right. I'm perfectly all right. So there it comes the question, okay, if you do not measure, obviously you'll always be in a situation where you'll not be able to grow further. Simple talent acquisition system, if we talk about, HRs keep on sending resumes to the technical team. Hundreds of resumes comes, but nobody counts that how many resumes came in. Ultimately, technical team scan through the resume, select few specific set of resume, and then send it back for the interview scheduling. But if we have one KPI which talks about out of how many resume you go and conduct an interview, let's suppose you send me 10 resume and I ask only for 2 interviews, you have just the 20% of screening rate. So there is a need of improvement for sure. You should understand the job description correctly. You should be sharing the correct set of profile with the HR leader, with the tech leader, so that you will have the greater conversion rate. Similarly, the other KPI which we talk about, the offer acceptance ratio. We keep on sending different offers to our candidates. Whether they are being accepted and whether they are converted as well, these are something which are very important for us. If you measure them, obviously you are going to improvise on them for sure. Entire ecosystem will start working towards the improvisation of these KPIs. So these are just simple KPIs through which you can start measuring. One sample dashboards are also being shown. So normally for any KPI measurements, right, you should have a dashboards, which you should be having a very easy access to these dashboards or reports, so that you can, on daily basis, you can get to these insights and keep on improvising in them. We'll move on quickly. These are sample use cases, but our launch team, especially who work with customers, they have plenty of use cases for all different 9 and 10 divisions of HRMS industry. And then they continue to bring such KPIs, and obviously the customer demands also a couple of such KPIs, which keeps on helping them growing the business, because ultimately growing the business or having either the cost saving or better earning or giving the better dollar or rupee value is something which everyone demands for. So this is on the compensation and benefits, the cost per FTE. So I'll share one interesting fact. Infosys back in 2014 and 15 had 15 lakhs as the cost per FTE. Everyone will be surprised, okay, how much is this? I mean, Infosys or TCS or large service companies are giving offers of 3 lakhs or 3.5 lakhs to the fresher. How come an average FTE is so high? But yes, that's the case. For an IT industry, the cost per FTE is quite high. And that's the reason they keep on minimizing it. Obviously, the major portion comes from the top executive. But yes, they still emphasize more and more on the junior folks to be hired, trained, retained, and then obviously being billable, so that they have the lower cost per FTE. So that's the one KPI which they keeps on lowering. Similarly, benefits to revenue ratio. I'll share one good examples as well. We all as an organization give a lot of benefits to our employees, like health insurance, transport facilities, etc. But one company which got bankrupt by giving benefits, does anyone know which is such company? It's an American company only. Anyone would like to answer? Just because of benefits they got bankrupt. It's General Motors. So you heard about it, right? So they promised their employees that they'll be giving lifelong health insurance to them, and then eventually, since they haven't analyzed that what will be the cost of fulfilling it for over 50 years, they had to file the bankruptcy in 2009. However, with bankruptcy have different chapters, obviously, so they were revamped, but eventually they had to do that just because of giving the benefits. Now, we always need to understand as a KPI that what is the ratio of benefits to the revenue or the earning of a company. Unless we know about it, obviously it will be tough. I mean, obviously, I mean, we as an employee always think of getting a lot of benefit, but yes, companies also has to think about it, and they'll be able to think about it, act it in a nicer way if they know this specific KPI. And obviously, they should either be reducing it or increasing the revenue so that this ratio is being maintained. Now, percentage of employees satisfied with their compensation. This is the most interesting thing, and we all always feel that this is the main reason people leave the job, because they are not being compensated much. But one study also shows that this is the third reason, or it is ranked in the top. It is ranked third in the top 5 reasons. Why? Because not everyone just think of money, and this is being ranked third, especially across the tenure band, right? So initial set of employees who are in the range of 0 years to 10 years of range, they are treating that as one of the prime reason. But eventually, over a period of time, when they start learning, when they start or they stop growing, then this is not a factor for them as such. But still, we should keep on conducting such surveys which tells you that how many such employees are satisfied or not. Similarly, we should also keep on identifying the outliers, that which set of employees are those which are either getting above the average salary of specific skill, specific tenure, and those which are at below. So at par comparison should always be made so that you bring the culture the right way in an organization, and obviously the right set of metrics to either compensate the set of employees who are getting less paid, or expect a better performance, or promote those set of people who are already getting a better salary. Now, a couple of external factors also govern here, right? So how industry works, those also KPIs, those are also such KPIs which you should be gathering from external data and bring it here. And this is also one of the sample dashboards which was created on this compensation and benefits. So we'll move quickly on to the, I think, one of more slide which talks about the productivity. Obviously, engagement, okay, some small issues, but yes, 2 times engagement is written, but engagement is one of the most prominent factor of retaining the employee. Engagement is something which is very hard to measure as well. Now, how to measure the engagement score of an employee? There are various surveys through which you can understand that how engaged an employee is. If an employee is engaged, he'll likely to be with the company, he'll likely to give best growth to the business as well. So engagement is some of the very important KPI. Now, engagement is also very much, scientifically it is very much proven. Engagement is one of the best, one of the highest ranked reason because of people leave the company. Engagement is directly proportional to the attrition rate. If there is inversely proportional to the attrition rate, if there is less engagement, you're likely to see more attrition among your employees. So that's one of the important index. One of the interesting case study that we currently building with one of our customer is predicting the attrition. Now that's very interesting. We keep on deploying different type of machine learning models. We keep on engineering the features, right? We keep on bringing the new features through which we can predict it nicely. I'll share one of the very good use case. So I was talking to one of the HR leader, obviously from my customer side, and she was mentioning that I have a power of hunch, and if I sense that this person will leave the company, that usually happens. Obviously, HR is all about gaining the empathy and understanding those things, but scientifically that cannot be proven. But still, since she was insisting, I said that why don't you create a new feature and say that the gut feeling. What's your gut feeling in the score of 1 to 10? And we'll try to adopt that feature and try to see if that will coming out as an important variable to predict the HR attrition. And fortunately, it was one of the impactful feature. They keep on conducting different interviews among people. They rate the employee based on their engagement or the way they talk, the way they feel, the employee feel engaged. And based on that, they started rating. However, this may not continue because it requires involvement of employee and HR at very frequent basis. But that was one of the very important factor which we had seen was working out, finding the attrition rate for a company, and they are able to predict the right prediction of which employees are likely to leave in next 6 months. So these are a couple of other engagement related KPIs. A quick dashboard is also being mentioned. Since I finished quite early because that Alexa was supposedly trying to, that should have taken 5 to 10 minutes. this is the end of the presentation. I'll be just moving on. We'll open for question and answer, and then at the end, we'll be announcing the winners of Lucky Draw. So I'm open for question, anything which comes to your mind. I probably may not be able to answer anything which is purely HR specific, but anything technology oriented, I'll be free. Yeah, please hand it over. The mics, a lot of questions, I'm glad. Please hand over mics to them, please.
Thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to ask, how are you going? What is the source of data for all this? Is it like HRMS system? There are multiple systems as well, right? Which can give you like a time and attendance, right? All these. Yes. So, are we going to fetch data from all these systems and then do this predictive analysis?
That's correct. So, there is a very important concept of data pipelines. So every system, the HRMS system, which gathers the data in backend, nowadays a lot of SaaS-based systems are there. They provide APIs through which we can bring in the data for doing this type of data analytics. A very simple example of API is you click and then you get the download of that data as well. That entire process can be automated. All this data can be fed into an analytics platform and then can be blended. So like your training data versus your attendance data, it could be captured into separate places. Similarly, your financial data, which probably finance team is capturing, but all 3-4 data sets can be blended together and then insights can be generated, which essentially can help you solving the problem.
And if there is no data, like employee satisfaction and things like that, which are not like usually available on HRMS system conventionally, so how do we plan to collect those data sets?
So there are systems which are also being created just to understand the employee engagement as well. I mean, you can research a bit. I cannot name few, but yes, there are systems which conducts the survey, which conducts the one-on-one interview as well, and through which you can get these scores as well. Feedback into the system. Again, as I mentioned, do not try to maintain it in a spreadsheet, because spreadsheet you'll forget in one laptop and then you change the laptop, it will be gone. However, everything is online now, but still, if you have a dedicated system to do this activity, you will have it everything available in future for historical data as well. So you can track that a specific employee has an engagement score of 5 on X month, and after 6 months, the engagement score has increased. So that's the reason you should have those systems in place.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, can I go ahead?
Yeah. Please.
Okay, so my name is Lakshmi and I'm from Flexiel. So we are providing cloud-based HRMS. So again, my question is pretty much linked to gentleman's question. How do we, I mean, I'm assuming that you'll be integrating it with HRMS for the data, for input as well as for the output, because that ultimately is required by HR folks.
That's right.
So can you just, maybe I can connect with you later to understand it better? Because
Absolutely.
again, being a HRMS provider, although we are also working internally on developing something like this, because that is the requirement of future AI. So, but I would like to connect with you. If you want to share with the group, if you have integrated with HRMS, and maybe in bit, how does it actually work?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. So many of them might be using some HRMS, and if they want to explore something like this, so maybe a overview of how does it work?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So in IT world, there are 2 types of system. One is operational system, which as it was called operational system or HRMS system, where you feed in the data. Once data is getting fed, it is just for the transactional work. But those type of systems are not meant to do the analytics. And that's the reason there is a need of another type of systems, which we call called analytical systems. So data has to be fed from those operational system to the analytical system in order to achieve the insights in a faster and efficient way. There are, again, I mean, as I mentioned, there are various connectors also available, out-of-the-box connectors available, through which you can connect to the HRMS system, bring in the data. Like, I mean, I would name one. SAP SuccessFactors is one of the HRMS system through which you can bring the data out and then essentially feed it into the analytical system as well, where you can start getting the insights. Because SAP SuccessFactors itself has reports for sure, but not this greater level of capabilities where you can do the predictive analytics as well. So we'll connect also offline, yeah.
Okay. So kind of work through API.
Deep on your, the data you are bringing from different sources, right? Who will model it? Is your company will model the data for the analytics, or like, is it like, let's say for example, if I want to use your thing, we model the data.
So it has two answers basically. So our product capability, if you talk just about Luminor, has inbuilt optimizer which models the data as soon as you connect to it. So it has an inbuilt optimizer. However, when the data volume grows, that optimizer needs a human intervention. And it's a one-time activity. Luminor has one more professional services solution as well, through which we can model it one time, start gathering the data, and you'll have analytics ready. So both ways, usually it works. Not just I'm talking about a product, but in general in industry, this is how it works. We understand the data, or people understand the data, model it once, just a one-time activity, and then this data pipeline being set up, which start feeding these data back to the given model and start giving it the results at efficient way.
But as and when you source more data, different data, right? Probably you may revisit your model as well to an extent.
That's
for
correct.
the optimization.
That's correct.
So now, how do you guys deal with those things? Is it like you guys consult with like clients and then work with them, or like because when the model changes, I hope like you may be using some big data so that you are agnostic of the data to an extent,
That's
like
correct.
size of the data, whatever, right? Just curious to know, or probably we can connect later. Curious to know, like how agnostic is that of your analytics on the data, because you may have to feed them data for training. I'm going bit tech.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. So if you can show some light, throw on light on that, right? Probably that will be helpful, or probably we can connect offline as well.
Sure. So that's a very interesting question, though a bit technical. But see, what happens is when we talk about artificial intelligence, it is nothing but mimicking the human behavior. And in order to build an artificial intelligence or machine learning driven model, it requires historical data. Now, this historical data let's suppose you had 10 attributes through which you wanted to build an artificial intelligence or a machine learning driven system. But tomorrow you identified that I wanted to feed 2 more attributes to it. And then there is a change, because now the model has to be retrained with 12 different attributes. When new data comes, there is no worry about that model which is already being trained, but obviously it requires a retraining after a month because the pattern got changed. But when new variables are added, as I mentioned initially it was 10, but 2 new are added, then obviously a retraining has to be required. So normally, since R is a no-code platform, our intention that every business user can do it by themselves. No need of any developer. Probably one single set of hand-holding would be required initially just to understand the platform. But over the period of time, you yourself can do it, because that platform is completely self-service driven, no-code analytics platform. You shouldn't be worrying about that, how at the back end the model is being built. All you need is just run it, just click on run, everything will be done at the back end, all crunching, all model building, etc. All you will get is just the output, the predicted output, or any type of output that you're looking for.
Yeah, hi. Can I take a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I wanted to ask a little bit about this solution. Is it a cloud-based solution or
Yeah. So
on-prem also available?
So it is primarily a cloud-based solution, SaaS-based platform, which is on cloud. But yes, it can be deployed to on-prem as well.
Okay, it can be deployed.
It can be deployed, yes, because
If I'm not comfortable sharing my data on the cloud, you can do it.
that's correct. Yes.
How much historical data do you need for your models to really work?
So quality of data is also plays a very important factor. But normally, what type of the use case that you will bring, and based on that, we can suggest that what exactly the historical data would be needing. Like for HRMS attrition prediction, 3 to 5 years of data is good enough for us to start predicting the attrition rates. 3 to 5 years is good enough.
One question, let's just take one example of attrition rate that you talked about. I know that you have a built-in engine which does the modeling using AI and everything. Can you take one example, like attrition rate? It's not easy to calculate the right data set because you can't ask specific questions to the employees, which helps you calculate that this person is potentially about to leave. So how do you deal with things where you don't have direct data source available from your HRMS to, come up with the metrics?
Yes, that's a very good question. And obviously, this is something which HR people only have to work. But I'll talk about one very interesting solution which I studied recently. What in United States, one of the company, what they did was they started capturing the face of an employee as soon as employee come out of a meeting room. And they have an AI-based system where they start rating that how happy this employee is as soon as employee comes out of the meeting room. So they start capturing it in the range of 1 to 10. So just the camera, probably employee himself or herself would not be knowing if someone is monitoring it. But based on that, they start capturing the engagement level. So every time you have a meeting, either with your boss or with your colleague, how happy you are, because that's the very important factor on engaging an employee and retaining an employee. Now that specific factor will be directly fed to the attrition-based system, and when you and other things, right? I mean, the tenure, the project, the tenure with boss, etc. All those features are already available with you. You start feeding this engagement score also along with other attributes to the model, and it will start giving a very right set of results. So this has started happening at least in the United States, but soon it will start come to India as well, where just by face reading, you'll start capturing that when the employee is likely to leave.
Yes, sir. One question. You mentioned that all the data comes from multiple systems with a pipeline into your system. What about unstructured data? There are a lot of unstructured data which is captured in terms of emails, in terms of responses for which we don't have system, and companies don't want to invest in systems for an email conversation, right? So from that perspective, is there any model in which by fetching into this unstructured data which converts into your modeling?
That's true. So let me quickly brief about this unstructured data as well for a moment. So any text or conversation, as you mentioned, that's one part of unstructured data. Then image is unstructured, video files, or the voice, the MP3 files. All these catered into the unstructured data. Now, we have that capability where we can perform the text mining. We understand that one single document, which is nothing part of a conversation, and we start capturing the keywords from it and trying to score the sentiment of that text. That is also called as sentiment modeling. Those sentiment scores can also be taken into the consideration to know that how happy an employee is with this conversation or not. So that's one piece which is essentially being done, but not any type of image classification or video or voice. That's not the part of capability as of now. But text analytics is something which can easily be done. And there are systems through which you can feed in the data from emails, from WhatsApp, from Skype chat, Teams chat. All those things can be fed in the form of structured data, which can essentially be analyzed, and sentiment scoring can be done.
Thank you.
So don't you think about data privacy when we talk about monitoring emails?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
please.
when we talked about sentiment analysis and picking up keywords which are going on, so data privacy might be an issue, right?
That's correct. So
there might be, there's a very fine line in between, like what to access and what not to.
Absolutely.
So it might backfire.
That's true. So in fact, when you see, right, here, this sentiment analysis which is being done, this is done by machine only. So nobody has got access of the data, similar to the Google world or the Facebook world, right? I mean, they have been scrutinized about it, but they have the data, but they have machines who are working on analyzing the data and just providing the end results. So the actual conversation was never given back to the human, but the score was identified, and then the score was given that this is the unhappy score which is being given. Now there are different laws, governance, compliances like GDPR, HIPAA, all those things are in place, and company has to comply to them before they start giving these type of analytics back to the business. So yes, those compliances are mandatory for everyone, every company or every organization.
Okay. So does it reduce any like efficiency rate in terms of the output?
Yes, absolutely. Efficiency would come for sure, right? Any type of analysis, if you start measuring, the efficiency will come for sure. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.